Dear viewers, thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching the press review on The Breakfast Show. We're going to be taking a look at the major developments in the Egyptian dailies. But first, let me welcome our guest in the studio, Dr. Walaa Sherif. She's a professor of political marketing. Doctor, first of all, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on The Breakfast Show.
Thank you for your good morning.
We first start with Al-Ahram Daily, and we read tens of thousands of Egyptians across the country on Thursday attended the funerals of the victims of militant attacks on military and police targets in North Sinai, and namely, most notably in Rafah and Sheikh Zayed, and that these deadly attacks has left dozens dead on Wednesday. TV footage showed thousands bidding farewell to the victims in several cities as bodies were carried through massive crowds. In Alexandria, thousands, including Provincial Governor Hani El-Misiri and other security and army officials, attended the funeral of one of the slain soldiers, Muhammad Ahmad Abdu, in a mosque in the eastern part of the city. The security was stepped up and barriers were erected in roads leading to the mosque in the city in the city's Raml district. And to give more details about the incident, Daesh-affiliated militants launched a wave of unprecedented attacks on several military checkpoints in North Sinai, which the army said left 17 soldiers dead and stoked hours of fighting with troops in which over 100 insurgents were killed. Doctor, this is, as several experts have said, this is an unprecedented or the most complicated attack that took place since President Sisi came to power. And as we read in the news item, thousands have mourned the dead and the slain soldiers who were killed as a result of these attacks. What does this message, thousands of Egyptians attending the funeral, what does this message convey to the public and, of course, to these militants that are trying to destabilize the country?
Okay. First of all, we will not call it attacks only, but it's a war. It's a real war at north of Sinai, and not also at Sinai only, but also at Cairo and all other governorates.
Yeah.
So those attacks, or this war that they announced to start, especially in Ramadan, in that holy month, and to kill Muslim people, and they assume that they are Muslims too, but they want to deliver certain message, which is there is no security at all in Egypt. That means that will affect the economic situation, and we should know or focus that we are near by the inauguration of the Suez Canal. So as long as we are coming near to that inauguration of Suez Canal and other economic projects, they don't want to see any kind of political stability inside Egypt. So that kind of attacks, and there are more than one announcement that that kind of attacks will not stop by one or two, but it will be continuous till the end of the holy months. So we have to focus and to concentrate, and also we should work on the awareness of the Egyptian citizens overall, that we are really in a real, yes, a real war.
And still with the Ahram Daily, the cabinet submitted on Thursday a draft anti-terrorism law to President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for ratification and put it into practice. The Minister of Transitional Justice, Ibrahim al-Hinedi, said that the cabinet had introduced some amendments that increased the law materials from 52 items to 55 items and included the allocation of room advice in the Court of Cassation, search for appeals, as well as amending some of the sanctions in order to shorten the proceedings on terrorism offenses. Al-Hinedi added that the cabinet implemented a request by the Supreme Constitutional Court to give its judges a longer period to rule on appeals against election results. These new laws would go into effect once signed by the president as per Egyptian law. Doctor, the significance of this law during this critical time as there's a wave of chaos and terror plaguing the country?
it's very important to be implemented as soon as possible and to take actions by that law to be applied on those who are accused by in terms of that law. And also that kind of law, I think that it should be amended since a year ago, since we start the trials of those Muslim brotherhoods and those members. So we took that action now. Why not? It's fine, good. It's quite good enough, but hope to implement it as soon as possible and to take and to apply it on those who are accused in those trials.
Yes. Moving on to Al-Akhbar Daily, where we read the security forces killed 70 Takfiri elements in Sheikh Zuwaid and Rafah, including the leaders and dangerous elements, while they're trying to escape as well as to destroy a number of terrorist hideouts. And we have a report about the operations of the Egyptian military in the north of Sinai, and Sheikh Zuwaid will take a listen, and we'll be back to resume the press review on the breakfast show.
Egypt vowed to crush an escalating militancy in Sinai after operations in the peninsula that resulted in the killing of 100 of terrorists and 17 soldiers. Military spokesman Brigadier Mohammed Samir reiterated that the army totally controls all lands of northern Sinai, stressing that no one or power is capable of controlling the peninsula. Security forces have killed 70 Takfiri elements in Sheikh Zuwaid and Rafah, including the leaders and dangerous elements, while they were trying to escape, as well as destroying a number of terrorist hideouts. Security sources confirmed that they successfully continued their military operations and airstrikes, chasing terrorist elements during their attempts to escape, and killed 70 elements, including 35 on Wednesday and 37 others on Thursday. Earlier, North Sinai witnessed the largest terrorist attack of its kind by Daesh militants against the security forces in less than 9 months, leaving at least 117 people dead, 17 army soldiers and 100 militants, according to the latest statement by the armed forces. The attacks, which revolve around the North Sinai cities of Rafah and Sheikh Zuwaid, came a day after the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi vowed to issue and amend stricter laws against militants following the assassination of the country's top prosecutor, Hisham Barakat, on Wednesday. The unprecedented wave of attacks came 2 days after the state prosecutor was killed, and President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has vowed to toughen laws and suggested fast-track executions following the assassination.
And as we have seen, Dr. Walaa, in the report, the attacks are deadly, and also the Egyptian Prime Minister has said that, or declared that Egypt is in a state of war. And as you of course know, these deadly attacks have took center stage in all the Egyptian dailies and the news sources. What do you think should be the plan of the Egyptian government and the forces to bring an end to such attacks in Sinai and elsewhere around the country?
Okay. The most two important places that we can expect that we can see a lot of those attacks and that kind of war are the two sides borders of Egypt, the border with Palestine and the border with Libya. Both two countries suffer from the groups of Takfiri groups exist in a large number there, especially Libya too. And we have to focus on Libya because number of Daesh is controlling, and the militias are controlling Libya in a great way and and there is no government there. So those two borders is important to be highlighted and to know what are the actions that is taken there. Also here in Cairo and other Alexandria and all other countries, governorates, is to focus on the police station and the policemen and the soldiers, because they attack each and every kind of security in Egypt. I don't want to know that There are a number of soldiers who died there. No, we would like to know that we know what is going on and face it before it happens. Why we leave it till it happened, then we take an action, which is a kind of revenge. No, we must take a kind of
precautionary.
Yes, yes, to prevent that to happen, or to face it once it happened, not to take a revenge in that way. Especially Sinai, it's the role of soldiers or the military system there at Sinai is difficult because it is ruled by Arab groups there, and yes, so we must be there must be deals with those Arab men in order to make it easy to deal and to cooperate to face that terrorism. So the actions that must be taken by the government must be more quickly, and we must support our soldiers with equipment and
especially that these groups have showed that they possess very advanced weaponry.
Yes, a great number of advanced weapons, which is why not to make an investigation about them? What are those groups?
And even as you have kindly noted that this has reached Cairo, it's the first time for us to see this C4 substance, explosive substance in Cairo, and in the vicinity of the military academy. This is this is indeed very alarming. And as you have mentioned, that the government must act immediately to control and monitor the movements of such militant groups.
Yes, of course.
Moving on to Al Gomhuriya, where we read the Prime Minister Ibrahim Mahlab said during the cabinet meeting that securing the vital institutions is the direct responsibility of all ministers and governors, through the coordination with the officials of the Interior Ministry and the armed forces if needed, adding that the country is in a state of war. He added that every ministry should apply an insurance plan for its institutions to confront any threats by training its security officials to meet the current circumstances. Mahlab stressed the importance of taking all security measures for the vital installations, especially the touristic sites, including museums, historical, archaeological, cultural, and religious shrines. The meeting was attended by the Minister of Religious Endowments, Electricity, Archaeology, Culture, Tourism, and officials of the Armed Forces, as well as the Interior Minister. Meanwhile, the Interior Ministry and the Ministry of Housing agreed to require the installation of surveillance cameras for all new stores when renewing their licenses. Doctor, the significance of this meeting held by Prime Minister Ibrahim Mahlab, and as he said, Egypt is in a state of war.
Yes, of course, and I like the statement of the military system the day before yesterday when they came to announce what happened at Sinai, and I hope that we will seek for having a daily report from the military system about what is happening. And there's also a very important point, which is the cooperation of ministers to face terrorism, because each and every ministry in the file or in what it is specific in, for example, irrigation ministry or the Ministry of Electricity, for example, in the at irrigation ministry, there's the problem of Nahda Dam, and we know it very much, but we must highlight it nowadays what's going on that file, because it's very important too, because it's a very important file in terms of the security of the country. So we must be aware about what is going on in order not to be surprised by any action. So it's much better. It is much better to be aware from the beginning. And for example, at the Ministry of Electricity, about the booms under the towers of the electricity everywhere. So why not to know the new technology and how to secure those towers or those stations is very important.
The introduction of surveillance cameras, being it as a mandatory to have a license for the shops or so. This could also make it, I believe, easier to track down militants